back to another evening out here. As we've seen in the previous videos, well, if you haven't, go back and go ahead and watch those. But we have the LMM set back in our home. We went ahead and got some of the bell housing bolts lined up and started in it. Made sure that the converter is free. I've learned from that in the past. I did bust one transmission pump. Thankfully I could fix it myself. And thankfully it's only a little S10 with a little 4L60, but always make sure the torque converter can spin freely by hand as you're putting the bell housing and engine back together. Just a little tech tip, just make sure you don't bust any pumps or anything. The S10, I was doing an engine swap in for my personal vehicle, but it had a pilot bushing in it, and I didn't think nothing about it coming from a manual truck or anything. So I just slapped it in there, started bolting it down, tightened it up, and I said, something feels tight. So by the time I went back and looked, it was too late. But it's also a issue sometimes when the snout of the converter does not line up with the end of the crankshaft. So just a little thing to check into while you're doing it. Always leave everything loose on your engine mounts and stuff as you go, so you can have some wiggle room. Another thing I like to do is, see if we can get over here and see this. Take my little hobo freight jack and a block and my drain pan, and I'll actually roll it right under here and set under the transmission pan. Now what this does is just supports it while you have the engine out, because you don't want it dropping down, pulling on the mounts, angling on the transmission bushing there on the mount. Also, it can pour fluid out the front if the dipstick comes out, and it'll actually drain more fluid than if you actually had it lifted up and the fluid went back. So that probably did save me, as we saw in my other video where the transmission dipstick did pop out. Just another little thing to watch for. You see it's not quite lined up, but it comes together easily right there. But I like to leave my downpipe loose on the band clamp up top, just so once you get everything together, you have a little wiggle right here and you can line it up with your exhaust. So I don't know if you can see back in there, the little cheap little spot welds there on the dipstick tube popped, and I welded it back on. So it's welded back together, painted up. We have some bell housing bolts back in already. Now we've already checked through our starter hole, and we're actually going to start today going through there and doing our converter bolts. Now I do have to say, GM let me down, and there is no room to swing a ratchet right there. So what I like to do is come right through this little gap right here and go ahead and break them free when I'm taking them out, and then I'll actually run a long extension along through here on the inside of the engine mount and go all the way to the front of the engine and put a long extension on there too, and put the ratchet up there to get them all out. Makes it go way quicker, way easier. But we're gonna go ahead and get most of those started in there, and we're gonna go ahead and put some Loctite on the bolts as we do it. And then once we get back to that point, we'll come back here with our torque wrench and see if we can slide it through there enough to torque them down. We're actually going to dinner with some friends tonight, so we're just going to see if we can knock out these converter bolts and maybe hook the exhaust back up, and just try to tuck all this stuff back up under here, tighten it all up, check all my clamps and bolts and everything. But before, I don't know if I showed this before taking the engine out, I think that was on the lost footage. If you take these three mounts out, take a block, make sure you get it up under the cab good, jack it up, and you can actually set an 8x8 under the cab to hold it up, and you gain all this access right here. And what that does, get you easier to your bell housing bolts, downpipe, dipstick tube, any kind of your heater hoses and stuff back there, any kind of wiring that might go up the backside. And overall, it just makes everything easier. Getting the engine out, it gives you more clearance on the base pan and cross member steering and all that. So just a few things that I like to let people know, and it helps you out a little bit, saves you a little headache. And to me, for pulling 3 bolts in a matter of, let's just give a little advantage on it, say 15 minutes, jack the cab up, put the block under it, let the jack down, and you can still use the same jack to hold up your transmission. I think it's well worth it. It looks a little funky right now, but also as you jack it up, watch your cab and bed clearance. Some of the cabs, the bushings on the other side will be wore out and it can actually hit it. But even on just doing downpipes on these trucks, it's just easier to go ahead and pull your front mount, your first cab mount, the middle one, and the back one. Jack the cab up 3, 4, 5, 6 inches, whatever you got room for. Make sure you're not pulling any of your wires too tight. And that downpipe job is a million times easier. You also see up here, once it's jacked up, you have all the clearance to pull your heat shield off. So you can get back in there to your band clamp to get the downpipe loose. So simple of a job, yet some people take it so in depth and say it's a pain. Only one I'm saying is a pain right now is that Y bridge. It is tight in there. Other than that, we've gone over all of our clamps, hoses, bolts are all tight, all of our bearings sound good, and all of our pulleys. So we're gonna throw these converter bolts in, maybe double check our bell housing bolts, and then hit our engine mounts, and then we'll probably be heading out to dinner by that time. So I'm gonna see if I can set y'all up in there somehow. Not sure if it's gonna work, but let's see if we can do this. Alright, I want to help some people out right here so they don't make the same thing I did. On this, on the engine that's in there now, the new engine, I was having issues and I was like, man, I know I didn't lose the 2 starter bolts, and these thread sizes were the same size as the starter bolt. Well, somehow I had 2 leftovers and bolts. Turns out the certs unscrewed out onto the mounting bolts. So just solved that mystery. Now I can swap everything out and set this one on the pallet. All right, welcome back out here. Another what day are we on? Saturday. Another beautiful Saturday out here under the pole barn. I think today we're gonna get pretty finished up on this thing. Should be able to hear it fire. It's the goal anyways, at least crank it over and get some fuel going through it, get it oil. So for now, we're gonna set y'all up and go ahead and get started. I've had a few calls hang us up this morning, so we're gonna make up some time and get moving on this thing. We're gonna start by assembling the cooling side of things. So we're gonna get the cooling stack going through. We're gonna go ahead and get the air hose out and blow it out and get it all cleaned out. Something that doesn't happen very often, but once it comes apart, it is nice to go ahead and blow everything out and get it cleaned out, get some fresh airflow through it, help keep the heart happy. and I think that's where we're gonna go with our day. Got some body mount bolts to put back in, the front clip, and all the cooling stack, the radiator, intercooler, condenser, transcooler, and power steering cooler. I think that covers it. But we're gonna set y'all up, and hopefully we get some good footage. And I'll probably stop through the video some, and we're gonna give some helpful tips on some things. But for now, let's get y'all set up and let's get to it. Alright everyone, we're back out here another day. Gonna finish up most of this truck today. We got a little trash to get rid of. Throw it in the old dumpster there. What we got left is some charge pipes, AC lines, which we're still waiting on an accumulator for that. But other than that, we have the bumper, the headlights, the intake stuff, air box, which we're gonna wait till last for that because of the AC line, and then a bunch of wiring and stuff to tighten up. But fan shroud, and I think that pretty much sums up the gist of it. So we're gonna do some tightening up. We'll set y'all up, let y'all get a little recap of what we're going over here, and here shortly we'll probably fire this thing up and see if we can go ahead and purge the air out of the system, get it running, get it nice and hot. And then we're going to top off the transmission. And I think that'll do it for today. Like I said, we're going to wait on that last. It's the main hard line that comes from the lower part of the condenser and goes all the way back into the accumulator. But I think we're gonna wait on that before we do any of the grill or this passenger headlight or anything, just so we have room to work in here. And not gonna do the air box yet, but we do still need to put our boots and clamps on the charge pipe, and we have to hook the hot side of the charge pipe. Then we'll get the cold side run back up into the intake on the Y bridge. But let's see what we can get done today. Hopefully we can tighten all those up and get some loose ends done, so that maybe after tomorrow, the goal is after tomorrow we'll be able to finish it up, and maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we'll be able to drive it to work and hopefully give it back to them by the weekend. So let's get after it and see what we get done. Yep, I know it looks like we've still got a long ways to go, but it's basically just the bumper, headlight, and then the grill. Up here, we went ahead and set the intake in to lose that one reduced power code. But we have our first heat cycle done. We got a fan shroud in, our fan, it's in there. Like I said, we're leaving this out until we route this hard line through here, and it goes back into the firewall. Actually, no, that one goes into the accumulator, I believe, or maybe the firewall. Yes, the firewall. But we're gonna do away with this wire here, tuck it up under there, and we've already got it disconnected up there. And I think for now that might do it. Gotta tidy up some wiring when we do the lights. We got one puck that fell out from the cab mount, and then we gotta tidy up some wires back under there. So we might do that here in just a little bit, but right now we got it running across the road for a second, and then we might come back and tighten it up. I don't know if y'all saw or not, but we put some PAG oil. I don't know how much we lost, but I like to put a little ounce or so in there just to put some back in there. Other than that, we did go back up under here where we were rubbing across the cross member there. It rubbed most of the undercoating off, so I went ahead and threw some of that spray can bed liner on it just to clean it up and touch up. Don't want it to be rusting on my buddy now. Other than that, we rerouted this one back underneath. Already got some temperature in there, not as bad. Gonna clean all this up, tighten it up a little bit. We got mount our bumper back up and whatnot, tighten all of our body bolts, and I think that'll do it. Hopefully we get our accumulator in tomorrow. We can swap that out, clean up under here a little bit, and hopefully take it for our first test drive. So far it sounds good. We do have to mount our, this was a TCM, but we have to mount this back to the fan shroud. Just a few little odds and ends, and put a vacuum on the AC system, recharge it, and then we're gonna have to give the old girl a bath. She's gotten a little dusty under here. We'll catch y'all later. Tomorrow? Yeah, I think we're gonna go with tomorrow. So we'll catch y'all tomorrow. But for now, peace out. Get out there and get something done. Alright, we're out here on the last day. Well, I'm guessing it's the last day. Final assembly, we got our accumulator in. We're gonna go ahead and open up this here orifice tube, stick it in the line, and yeah, we're gonna put the AC line back on the condenser, and the front bumper on, the headlights, and the grill assembly. Then as we do that, we're of course gonna have to tackle some of this light wiring and whatnot, but we're gonna try to button up this thing today, and the goal is to be going for a test drive tonight. So let's get to it and see what we get done. here we have it. Finally got the whole front end reconstructed, re-applied, put back together, however you want to call it. We got the front end back on. We got some kind of supervision here. I don't know if it's bug patrol or what it is, but we got some kind of help. Ooh, we got a Jake brake in the background. But after all the hectic wiring we had to go through, we finally got most of that straight. At least got enough so we can get some headlights going so we can test drive it. We've got our high beams, low beams, turn signals, all of our stuff so we're legal to drive down the road. We've got all of our charge pipes on. We've got all of our battery connections redone, tightened up, torqued down. We have our fan on, fan shroud. Everything's back together on that part. We've got our core support bolts, our cab mount bolts. Everything's tightened back up. Only thing we have left is a test drive and to vacuum and charge the AC. Now all the lines are back on. The orifice tube's all back in. I think we might pull a vacuum on it tonight. That'll be about it. But for now, it's buttoned up. It needs a bath. And it needs test driving. So I think those are the two things we're going to knock out first. You want to hear a start up? Ooh. Got us a Jake breakage out there. I think we'll give you all a startup video. And then we'll go over it real quick, go in inside video, show oil pressure, all that stuff. But let's see what happens. Headlights all bolted back in. It's all we wiped down and everything to get some dust off of it. All of our cab bolts are in. New muffler sounds good. Double check that light, but we can see here we're still holding almost 60 pounds of oil pressure. We're charging good. It had a slow crank because we had the lights on. We've been testing them for a while, so it probably drained them down pretty good, but we're gonna let it run for a little bit. It should charge them back up nicely. Fairly clean interior in here. Oh, not sure how loud it is, or if you can hear me at all, but if you can, this may be the end of the video. Well, it is that time. Test drive time. We've got everything back together. We found one leak in the AC line. It looks like it actually comes back to the high side fitting. The core in it is leaking, so we're gonna have to get a new one to replace that. That should be hopefully the only leak we have in the AC, but we don't need AC to go for a test drive, so let's get in there and see what we got. Let's go ahead and get a cold start going on it. pretty good so far. We made it a few miles up the road. We got on a little bit, not too much. We'll let him take care of that. But I'm not sure how good y'all can see me in here. He's got it rather dark. But after we get off this back road, we're gonna head down the highway, see how she holds highway speeds for 10-15 minutes. Probably test drive it to work a couple days. And we did have one mistake, not a mistake on our end, but an issue to fix. We have a high side port that is leaking because Chevrolet has those chintzy little ball valves that hold them up. It's not holding a vacuum. It would pull down, but it wouldn't hold it. So I put a little charge in it, figured out it was leaking out the high side port. So we're gonna order another one of those tomorrow. We'll swap it out and charge the AC up. Hopefully test drive it one more day, and I'd like to get it back to him this weekend. I know he'd love to have it back. But I think that's gonna do it for now. We'll catch you on the next one. There's plenty more coming. I think the next one might be, I think it's like a 1940 or so Jeep. Just a old restoration project. Got to fix a little oil leak on it, but nonetheless, it's still something cool and different. I like doing all this interesting jobs and projects, knocking out projects left and right. But thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Don't mind me just looking in the fields, scoping them out. But hit that little notification button so we can let y'all know when we get some videos posted. But we thank y'all for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Remember, get out there and get something done every day. Whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, that's a lot closer than you were the day before. Just take a little by little and always attack it with a strategy. But thank y'all for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.